Bettor Sports Betting is your home for picks, props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servodidio.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm. We appreciate wherever you're watching us on Twitter, YouTube, the BSN app. I got Fensty here because we got the NBA draft tonight, and we got to talk all things NBA draft, picks, best bets, team needs, everything. So, Fensty, how you doing? You excited for tonight's draft?
Oh, man, today's been a tornado, Servo. I can only imagine how it is with you because we always talk about the prospects and so much focus on these draft prospects, but we're getting some major names traded over the last 24 hours, dude. It's been crazy, and we might not be done.
Yeah, we'll definitely dive in to how the Kristaps Porzingis trade affects the Wizards pick and the Bradley Beal, the trade that happened previously a few days ago. Chris Paul now headed to the Warriors. Tons of moves here. Yeah, Marcus Smart going to the Grizzlies. So some moves that could impact trades. And you mentioned we could have another trade or two coming in that could affect, which team, which player team drafts. The big name we'll get to is, Damian Lillard. Is he staying put for sure in Portland? Is he going to be moved tonight and impact who they pick at number 3? That kind of thing. So we'll get to all that, but we also have plenty of baseball bets that we want to dish to you guys first. Small slate tonight, only 3 games on tap tonight. We have some afternoon action going on now, but we have some just a few games that we can still get some picks in for tonight. So let's get to our best bets here before we get to some NBA draft talk. What do you got for your best bet tonight, Fensty?
Yeah, I've liked this, and then all of a sudden in the last 7 minutes or so, I'm starting to doubt myself, but that's where you just got to be careful because you start to get inside your head. But I'm looking at Domingo Germán tonight going up against, these two teams, the Yankees and the Mariners, have been cashing on their unders lately. I don't know why I just didn't make that my best bet. But instead for Germán, who's gone over 4.5, has allowed at least 5 hits in 3 of his last 4 games, including one of those games against the Mariners where he gave up 7 hits against them. I'm thinking tonight he's going to go over 4.5 hits allowed tonight. And I saw that a little bit earlier on DraftKings, and that stood out a little bit there. And I saw it at -105 for the over.
Nice. Yeah, I have a pick on Domingo Germán coming up shortly here. So I'm also fading him in a different way. So I like that. Actually, you are on him, but
well, no, I'm on him to give up at least 5 hits.
So I guess
I'm technically off of him, even though I'm on him.
You're on him, but you're off of him.
Exactly.
Well, I'll be on him and off of him in a little bit. I'll give that pick out too. But I like that. My best bet is the Rays. They're massive favorites against the Royals here, but I'm taking them on the run line. I think they'll cover here to get at least the win by 2 here. So I like the Royals run line. Or the Rays run line, and then just also a separate bet with that Shane McClanahan to get the win at -140 on DraftKings. The Royals' bottom 5 offense against lefties over the past 2 weeks, 257 WOBA, 27% strikeout rate, and overall this year they've been a bottom 10 team in the league against left-handed pitching. McClanahan's been dominant at home. He's been a stud, 1.64 ERA at home. 0.86 whip at home, 5-0 record in his 7 home starts in Tampa. So I think the Rays get it done. It's still juiced up to -155 on DraftKings. Gone down just a little bit, I think, but I still like them to cover on the run line there. Rays have a 60% cover rate against the run line at home this season, which is second best in the MLB. And then the other side, the Royals, they got a bullpen game going. They got Jose Quaz as the opener, and then the bullpen's taken over, and they have a 5.37 ERA as a pen during the month of June. So I think the Rays offense can do plenty here, give McClanahan some run support. And I'm banking on a sizable win for the Rays here. McClanahan's going to get the win on his record too.
If he doesn't, it would be one of the biggest disappointments going, because what you just said about the Royals' issues hitting, especially against lefties here, were you thinking at all about his strikeout prop? Now, I know he hasn't been getting the strikeouts lately. 5 in his last few starts, and I was seeing it at 7.5 before, and I couldn't do it, man. I just couldn't do it.
Well, I felt like you today because I looked at the 7.5 and it was just a touch too high. I do like, I didn't look at the odds, but on FanDuel you can go with some alt strikeouts, and also just pair it with like the Rays to win. So if you do that, you can get some interesting, or even if you're doing like a same game parlay on DraftKings or anything. I like that because I still think he's going to strike out, 5 or 6 at least, but yeah, getting to the over 7.5 was just a touch too much for me.
It's been like a month and a half, almost 2 months since he's gone over that number. Even in a great matchup, it's just, if I'm not seeing it, it's just so hard to do.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, you mentioned your Yankees Mariners under that you might like. So you like that as well for a pick tonight?
Yes, and it's been a little bit stressful 2 nights ago when all of a sudden the Yankees were scoring runs in the first 2 innings, but then after that it was done and it's gone under, and it's been around this number. I thought maybe if we could get a little bit lower here, it would make the books scare us off a little bit, but no, even with the pitching matchup tonight, both of these teams haven't been hitting well for the most part over the last few weeks, so I'm taking the under once again in 7.5.
Okay, yeah. I'll stick with that game because I like the Mariners money line. Brian Wu has a 7.30 ERA this year in his 3 starts for the Mariners, but I think that looks a lot worse because his MLB debut came against the Rangers and he got thrown into the fire, gave up 6 runs over 2 innings, but he's been solid in his last 2 outings, so I think he can keep it going against the Yankees offense that is really struggling without Aaron Judge. 280 WOBA against righties over the last 2 weeks with Judge out of the lineup. Just a bottom 5 team in the league in most categories against right-handed pitching in this span. On the other side, I think Domingo Germán, you mentioned him at the start. I think he could have some issues. He's just been very up and down and inconsistent. He gave up 4 runs to the Mariners a few weeks ago when he faced them. And the Mariners aren't hitting well, overall this year, and especially against righties, but they are drawing a lot of walks, and their offense has been playing, even actually better than the Yankees, if believe it or not, lately. So I like that side of things. And then just to cap it off, the Seattle bullpen is making me feel a lot better about the later innings than the Yankees pen right now. 1.96 ERA for the Mariners relievers over the last couple weeks compared to the Yankees 6.19 or 6.10 ERA as a pen. So yeah, I'm leaving Mariners money line in that one.
So it seems like you and I regarding this game, and again, with only a few games tonight, there's only so many directions we can go. It seems like we're on the same page for a lower scoring game. And when I was thinking about the under once again, wondering if it was a trap because of the pitching matchup, the one thing about Wu, strikeouts. I mean, that's something that he's been getting over his last few starts. And yeah, you can say whatever you want about the White Sox, but what about the Angels, who struck out 7 of them, 9 against the White Sox? So thinking that he's at least been striking out guys and not allowing a lot of runs, because he's only allowed a couple here and 2 max in the 3 starts, it makes me a little bit more comfortable still betting that under at 7.5.
Yeah. And Wu, by the way, if you look at his advanced metrics, he's got a 2.60 expected ERA this year. And he's got a high BABIP and a low left on base rate. So I mentioned he had that one bad out against the Rangers. Just kind of gotten lucky at times there and through his other 2 starts, but he's been a lot better than his like on surface ERA or WHIP show. So yeah, I like him against the Yankees here, and yeah, he'll definitely limit them. And I mentioned the Mariners offense isn't much better than the Yankees right now, so I think they do just give him, maybe it's a 1-0 final there. I'll be fine with that.
I mean, look, if 3 runs are scored, if it's a 3-0 game again after 2 innings, I'm not going to be worried about it, man.
Yeah.
I'm just not with these 2 teams, and they could definitely both use a little bit of a power surge. That's for darn sure. Let me ask you about this here. Let me ask you about Braxton Garrett, because Braxton Garrett has been pretty good, but at the same time, the Pirates actually hit lefties pretty well. I believe their average is 267 against them. And I know that the Pirates have been in a little bit of a free fall for the last month or so, but Garrett over 4.5 hits allowed at -120. I'm thinking that the Pirates can get that done tonight.
I like that pick. Just in general, I think that's a pick maybe I should go with too, because I do like the over in this game. That's one of my picks tonight because Garrett has his advanced metrics too on his side has not been great. He's got a 4.53 expected ERA compared to his 3.88 ERA. I've been on him at times this year. But yeah, you mentioned the Pirates offense, top 5 in the league against left-handed pitching. So over the past 2 weeks and overall this season, like a top 10 team against lefties. So I like that over there on the hits allowed for him, because I think that side of the matchup is one I'm more confident in, like the over hitting here. Mitch Keller on the other side is just he's been up and down this year, but he has allowed 4 runs at least in 4 of his last 5 starts, which is a little bit worrisome. He started the year very strong, but this has been kind of shaky lately. So I think he adds to the over here. And the Marlins are, they're just an average team against right-handed pitching. But over the past week, they're shot up into like the top 10 metrics against righties, 340 WOBA over the last week against right-handed pitching. So I think Keller also with his 4.44 road ERA is also worrisome for me. So I like the over there. And yeah, I think Garrett probably has a shaky outing contributing to that.
6.35 ERA at home.
Yeah, I saw that right too.
Yeah, as opposed to 2.18 on the road.
Yeah, that was, I saw that.
Yeah, very weird split right there.
Weird one. I'll take the over there. I love how DraftKings has the hits allowed or earned runs allowed, walks,
hits, runs, RBIs. I mean, I think that it seems like discontinued, but they also had that money line special promotion where if you pick the money line winner, but the team is up 2 at any point in the game, no matter what happens, you win the bet. But they've smartened up and taken that down over the last week.
And by the way, so walks prop, I'll throw one out here, is Domingo Germán. I wrote it up for the underdog plays up on Fantasy Alarm. If you want to go check that out, get some more in-depth thoughts over it. But the Mariners are a team that draws a ton of walks. And you mentioned like you're fading his hits prop. I think he goes over the walks prop here too. I'm just, Domingo Germán. I have the stats in the article if you want to look at it, but he's gone over 1.5 walks a lot more often than you'd realize this season. So I'll take the over on his walks prop there.
We need a crappy outing from Germán at this point here. Look who he's facing at this point. It's like we need him to be able to. We need the Mariners bats to absolutely wake up,
right,
against them. But still, not get it in the form of runs, just hits, and keep that under for us.
Yeah.
Live.
By the way, if you haven't already, go get the fantasy football draft guide at fantasyalarm.com. It is up there for you guys. If you have the All Pro subscription at Fantasy Alarm, then you can get this draft guide for free. You can also get a free 7-day trial for the All Pro subscription and get this draft guide for free. But it's only $26.99 overall if you don't have the subscription. But just get the subscription because we can make that back winning a couple bets or winning some DFS lineups as you put in those MLB DFS lineups tonight or any day this week. But yeah, go get the draft guide right now. Tons of draft content, best ball leagues, redraft, dynasty rankings. I think we just had the tight end rankings go up live on the site today from Andrew Cooper. And I know all of us at Fantasy Alarm, we're all contributing articles there, and we'll have stuff pumping out over this whole summer. So check out the draft guide now. And if you have that All Pro subscription, you would have seen Wags's Best Bets article, Josh Wagner's best article for tonight's slate, MLB Best Bets there. So definitely check those out as well to see if we're aligned on any of these picks we got tonight. Before we get to some NBA draft, we got to get our home run calls in before we just flip the page completely to basketball. So let's get to our daily dingers of tonight.
You can put it on the board. Yes.
Now that's a dinger.
Love that. All right, what do you got? Who's going yard tonight, Fensty?
I'm trying to nail one of these back-to-backs kind of jacks kind of guy here. Randy Arozarena for me. I'm going to go up against whoever KC wants to throw at him in their bullpen. I'm thinking that he's going to go yard once again, and he has now in 2 of his last 5 games, including last night as well. So with Randy Arozarena hitting over 290s, 14 home runs this season, again, facing the Royals, I'm thinking that he's going yard once again, and saw that a little bit earlier at plus 450 on DraftKings.
I like that pick. One I almost went with, but I went with a different Ray, as we're both going with some Tampa Bay Rays tonight. And I got Yandy Diaz at 475 odds there, plus 475 on DraftKings. Yandy Diaz has not gone deep in almost a month now. He is very much due. This is a guy that was hitting dingers left and right at the beginning of the year, but he's in a bit of a power cold streak right now. I think he gets back on track because, yeah, you said it. Whoever's the Royals bullpen is not scaring me one bit tonight, and we'll see who's back there. Probably going to be multiple arms that they're throwing, but I'm not worried about it. I think, Randy Arozarena, Yandy Diaz, you can name a number of Rays that could go deep tonight.
Can I address something that I'm seeing in the comment section? I feel like I'm getting trolled a little bit here.
Yeah, you are. I've seen this, but it's a little NBA related. I was going to wait to get to it, but go for it, man.
Yeah, I'm right. I mean, he hit me up about Porzingis here, whether or not he should have actually been traded to the Knicks, where I'm sorry, as a Knicks fan, you don't really see Kristaps Porzingis as a piece to build for the future. I will say this, if you're the Boston Celtics, hold off on extending him as much as humanly possible. This guy gets hurt, and it's not just little injuries. Last year was a different story, but still, you got to be careful with this guy. So just saying, and by the way, to make that trade for him, I'd rather invest in someone else. If I'm going to invest in an injured player, maybe not a Porzingis, but a more proven defender like Paul George, which is being rumored currently.
Yeah, Paul George is another one of those names that could be on the move. We'll see about that. But, yeah, the Porzingis trade, a great way to segue to our NBA talk here, because that trade that happened, gone official yesterday for the Celtics to get Porzingis and sending Marcus Smart to the Grizzlies. The Wizards get Trey Jones or Tyus Jones?
Tyus Jones. I'm actually excited about that. I thought, what? Because of everything with John Morant last year. I mean, there were times when he's had to step up now over the last couple of years. Nice run and gun guy. So look, is he a future piece to build around? No, but you still want, when you're in a rebuild, you want fun players, and that's a fun player that they just got before making another trade. Yeah.
And Chris Paul now headed to the Warriors, which is very interesting. And Jordan Poole is in that trade, right? He's heading out.
Yes.
Which is also just another, factoring into Draymond Green possibly returning and probably returning. He opted out of his option there, but the expectation has been maybe he's going to re-sign there with a different deal. So Jordan Poole looks like he's out.
Him, man. That punch killed the chemistry. They just never got over it. Jordan Poole could never get over it.
Nope.
And you would see even in the playoffs at times, Draymond Green would be walking up to Jordan Poole to try to either advise him or to even just give him a little pat, like, good job. Jordan Poole wanted none of it.
Yeah, he was ignoring him at times. That was caught on camera,
Yeah. And the Warriors panicked because right after that happened, they extended him. So they felt like they had to keep him there, and they gave him $100 million, which I thought was outrageous, but still they didn't want the core to break up, and then they had the season that they did.
Yeah. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to be going pick by pick for the at least the first, lottery picks of tonight's NBA draft, and just kind of telling you guys where to place your bets, what the team needs are for all these teams, because NBA's Fensty's glued into all the NBA teams that, from the past season and this off season with all these trades happening. And I'm more the prospect guy, the college guy. So we are just going to put our minds together and make some picks for you guys. Looking at FanDuel odds, Fency's got DraftKings odds on, so we'll try to get the best odds here for all these picks. Obviously the Spurs at 1, it's going to be Victor Wembanyama. There's no secret. There's no drama here. He's minus 50,000 on FanDuel to go number 1. Obviously no value in betting that, but just quickly on Wemby. I mean, everybody knows him by now, but How does he fit in with this Spurs roster from last year? Key guys that they are returning.
Yeah, no, they needed him at this point, and he'll fit nicely with Jeremy Sohan, who I thought was absolutely, I mean, throughout the season, he was getting banged up at the beginning of the year, but then you saw what this guy could do on both sides of the ball, and I think what Wembanyama is going to bring, because he could produce from both the elbow, a little bit from the arc, but also has that drive. I think he's going to fit nicely. Now, we got to be careful, because remember, a few years ago, everybody was making like Zion Williamson was going to be the next LeBron James or something like that. So this guy's got to bulk up a little bit, man.
Yeah.
Very skinny. One of his weaknesses from watching a lot of what I was watching, I'm not just looking for highlights, by the way. I'm looking for actual gameplay. He gets boxed out very easily. He's got to use that body, use that buttocks more a little bit for him. And he's got to gain that mass so he doesn't have guys that are about 6 inches shorter than him being able to box him out right under the basket. But outside of that, very athletic and good at moving with the ball.
Yeah, he's got that. The durability is definitely one of the concerns with him. And I made this argument on a few shows ago when me and Howard were talking about like possible NBA Rookie of the Year odds, and it's Wemby is the favorite, rightfully so, but there's a chance that he gets a small injury or two and is sitting, a chunk of games as the Spurs are playing him careful. So, I think there's value in betting on someone like Scoot Henderson or Brandon Miller or anybody else to be the Rookie of the Year.
Holmgren's going to be involved.
Yeah, Chet Holmgren's now at the top of those odds too.
So, weird, man.
Yeah, he's a guy that for sure could be. You see the odds flashing here. Plus 650 is definitely a solid bet for Chet Holmgren, because he's the kind of guy that could come in and just be. People remember like, oh yeah, this dude is a freak too. He's not Wemby, but he's also very good and for his size can just do things that people don't really see every day. So he'll gain steam. But yeah, if he has any injury, Wemby, that they will play him careful because he does need to bulk up. And we saw this with it's very reminiscent of like Anthony Davis when he came into the league, because from Kentucky, he was very lanky, he was very thin. It took him maybe a couple of years to actually bulk up and turn into like the absolutely stud that he was.
Giannis too. Remember how skinny Giannis was?
Giannis was very skinny.
Yeah, it took him a few years to bulk up, but he did it. It just shows that you can, and it doesn't have to be in one summer, but this guy's got to put some mass on. And you're right, that with these centers, you just got to be careful and you got to be built properly. And I think that's one of the reasons with Zion why he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's kind of disproportionately built. Very huge upper body than his lower body, and you're seeing a lot of lower body wear and tear because of it.
Yeah. So moving on to the second overall pick, we had a ton of odds movement over the past few days, even the past 24 hours. I mean, at this time yesterday, Brandon Miller was a massive favorite to be the number 2 pick, like minus 650 odds on FanDuel I saw. I mean, it was even higher at some other sports books. But now it's flipped. Scoot Henderson is now the favorite to be the number 2 pick. I've said all week, I would have been shocked and surprised if Brandon Miller is the second pick, and it could still happen. We could see these odds flip again and flip back to Brandon Miller. But I've just maintained that Scoot Henderson is just a better prospect. And the Hornets would be dumb to pick Miller because of a fit issue that you don't think Henderson could fit with with a LaMelo Ball there in Charlotte, whereas Miller is like the wing, forward type that can maybe fit on the roster and play with LaMelo Ball better. But I think 5-10 years from now, Scoot Henderson is going to be the better player, and he has a real chance to be like a star in this league. So I think, him being the favorite now is not surprising. I was pretty surprised to see Miller be a massive favorite yesterday. But for the Hornets, Fensty, they obviously LaMelo Ball is the key name there for him. For them, this is a team we thought could also maybe trade the pick. But how do you see, whether it's Scoot Henderson or Miller, just with this roster returning from last year, what they definitely need and want here?
Well, here's the thing. Scoot is the better prospect.
Yes.
But their biggest need at this point is swingmen that can stay healthy. And that's where I think Brandon Miller is a good fit for them. Now, I'm hearing all these rumors that during the last workout, I don't know, Michael Jordan, who's still in control, by the way, through the draft and free agency. Why, I have no idea. This guy makes horrible decisions. Just get him out of there at this point. They're probably, oh, Michael Jordan, still key to the league. Yeah, get the hell out of here with that. But here's the problem. They also have Terry Rozier as well, who's perfectly capable of going over to the point guard, solid combo guard. So that's my one thing, because I feel like when you have the number 2 overall pick, you want this guy ready to go. I'm not saying that you can't do what the Pistons tried to do last year originally with Jaden Ivey, bring him off the bench, have him play 27 to 30 minutes, ease the transition a little bit rather than just starting him right out the gate. But I just feel that the Hornets can't really rely on guys like Gordon Hayward anymore. They don't have a lot of forwards. Cody Martin was hurt as well. I feel that they need Brandon Miller on this team.
Yeah, I think from a fit from the roster, he is the pick for if they want to go that route. I just think that Scoot is. I think they're going to regret not picking him if they do that. I know maybe they don't want another ball dominant scoring guard on this team next to Ball, but I just think when I watch these two guys, I think Miller, honestly. I know people aren't really saying it, and I'm not afraid to say it. I think there's a chance he could be a bust. I really do. I think
an 18-8 guy who shot nearly 40% from 3 last year.
Yeah, but if you watched Alabama last year, that team he played on, they were a fantastic team. They had a ton of talent on this team. They played up and down like an NBA team. His stats are a little bit juiced because of how often how fast they are playing on offense. And defensively, they had a ton of talent where he could make a couple mistakes and get away with it. I know he's good, good defensively with his length and all that, but and his 3-point shooting, I mean, the amount of times he had an open shot from deep because other guys were driving to the basket, or the defenses had to worry about other guys, or they were playing in transition where he just got some threes that were easy. I think his stats are a little bit juiced. And honestly, I think if you put, some of these other prospects in this draft, the wings, the forwards, like Cam Whitmore, if you put like him on Alabama last year, he might have very similar stats. So I wouldn't be surprised if those guys were flipped and all of a sudden Whitmore is the top pick instead of Miller. But yeah, I just think Scoot Henderson, the way he does, he just if you ever watch his highlights, you watch a game. He played a couple games against Victor Wembanyama when they scrimmaged, had some exhibition games, but just from the G League, he plays like a Russell Westbrook, plays fearless, just plays with a ton of confidence that he's the best guy out there. And I love that for him, from him. And Miller he doesn't have that gear, mentally. That also makes me a little worried. So, I've been just kind of diving more into this and trying to figure this out because, listen, I'm a college guy. I'm a college basketball guy. And for me to say that I think Brandon Miller is possibly a bust, I think that's huge because I watched a ton of him last year. But I think he really benefited from playing on an Alabama team that really helped him to surge up and to be a top 3 pick. So,
yeah, I mean, Scoot with that G League experience, I mean, he does kind of have that semi-pro experience already, which sides with him. And also, how about this?
For 2 years, by the way.
Right. LaMelo Ball played 36 games last year. He had massive ankle issues, and it's not the first time he's been injured. His rookie year, he was also injured a decent amount as well. So maybe the Hornets are trying to hedge a little bit. Maybe they see what they got in Scoot, and then down the road, let's say if LaMelo's a little bit banged up, all of a sudden his contract starts coming up, they put him on the block, they could get some serious assets for him for a team that thinks that there's still a lot of juice left in LaMelo, still very young. But I think that it's not a ridiculous pick if they pick Scoot, and it's looking like that from the odds. It's just you're looking at what this Hornets team needs right now. They need wings. They need defenders. And if they have another guard, look, the Thunder made it work a long time ago when they had James Harden coming off the bench. Maybe they have Scoot coming off the bench. Maybe the Pistons were right when they were bringing Ivy off the bench before Cunningham got hurt. Maybe that does help out and lets him work against the second units rather than the starters who are much more skilled.
Yeah. I think another thing to just kind of keep in the back of your mind tonight is the Hornets possibly trading down in the draft, or trading out of the pick altogether if they are offered, like a Zion Williamson or something. Because I think Scoot Henderson should be the second player off the board tonight. If the Hornets don't want to make that pick because they don't want the fit with Ball, or they want, a guy like Zion or anybody else to come in and join the team, I think there's a lot of teams willing that'll be moving up to 2. And I heard some, trade rumors and reports that the Hornets will be listening to trade offers, right up until they pick. So I could see them getting blown away with an offer where, Henderson is going to be the second pick. He might not be going to the Hornets, but he'll be the second pick, because I do think he's the clear number 2 pick in this draft. So at number 3, we got the Trailblazers, which they could be going with, standing put with Damian Lillard, right? He's another name that's been out there, but there's been some reports that he wants to be in Portland. He wants to stay there, as he has
been out there too. People are just trying to create BS narratives. He's always wanted to stay in Portland this entire time. He has always said that, and it's pissing me off, man. He has said this from day one, and then people poke and poke. Yeah, he wants a successful rebuild. Duh. But Portland loves him, and he's always embraced, and he's always loved the city. And for the last few years, it's been these BS he wants out rumors. He loves the city. He is, I would argue, he is one, if not the most connected NBA player to their team city.
For sure.
Out there. He loves the city of Portland. He loves the Portland fans. He just wants them to bring in some more veterans to help him out. That's all he wants.
So, well, on that note, the Trailblazers could be looking to trade this pick if they're a team, if they get offered Zion Williamson or anybody else to come play for the Trailblazers, or another veteran out there that's been, like I know, like a Pascal Siakam's been a name floated around.
Oh, man, imagine them with him.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Nuts.
Yeah,
that would be crazy.
So, we could be – so Brandon Miller is the favorite here. If he doesn't go 2, he's going to go 3. It's just a matter of if he's going to the Blazers, another young player. They got Shaedon Sharpe last year who showed some promise, but, maybe the Trailblazers, if they're sticking with Lillard, maybe they are looking to trade this pick to a team that can give them a win-now player, right? So that's kind of the vibe of me.
Let me ask you this. Let's just say that the Hornets, even though it seems like they're going to take Scoot, let's say they do take Brandon Miller when all's said and done, and now Scoot's still out there. Does that make the Blazers more likely to trade that pick because of the 3 guards?
Yeah.
Because look, Scoot, we've been talking about just how talented this guy is, but you talk about the guard situation in Charlotte, it's even crazier in Portland, because you mentioned Sharpe, but they also have Simons and Lillard too. Mm-hmm. So is it a must trade at that point? Or if they're forced, they don't get a deal they go best available, who would be Scoot still?
Yeah, I think they draft Scoot if they don't trade it, and then they maybe eventually trade Scoot, whether it's at some point this offseason still, or just, you kind of the thing where you make the pick and it's on draft night a little later. Maybe they do trade him. I think, yesterday when it looked like Brandon Miller might be the lock at 2, I was thinking in my mind that Scoot, this number 3 pick would be traded, because there'd be a team who love to jump up and get Henderson. I never, like you just said, I never thought Scoot Henderson would fit well on the Blazers because of their guard situation, especially with Damian Lillard. I mean, a lot better than LaMelo Ball and a lot safer of a player right now. So, that makes it interesting.
And pretty much all of their forwards, by the way, are free agents, restricted or unrestricted. So that's something else to think about. I would really like to see Brandon Miller ending up on that team for sure.
Yeah. All right, going to the 4th pick, we got the Houston Rockets. The big storyline for the Rockets this offseason has been whether or not James Harden might join the team in free agency, or, if he doesn't, what are they going to do with this pick, or could they trade this pick? But it's been emerging that Ahmed Thompson, one of the Thompson twins, he is going to be the pick here at minus 400 on FanDuel now. And Brandon Miller plus 600 if he does slip maybe in the draft, which is interesting if you want to take a shot there. But it looks like Amen Thompson might be heading to the Rockets. What's your view of the Rockets roster right now heading into the next season?
Well, it's the big thing is Harden going to go there or not? Like you just mentioned, I've read reports recently that now he's having second thoughts, maybe to stay with Philadelphia all of a sudden. So that changes everything because to me, they've got a backcourt that's ready to roll, ready to start to grow together in Kevin Porter and Jalen Green. I kind of like that. And I thought to break that up, I thought that was a little bit head scratching, but you want to put butts in the seats. You want to draw, and James Harden, even with his issues on the court, still is a big time draw. I think Thompson here would be a very nice pick. We've been hearing them linked here. Now, the big thing is with Thompson, how do we view this overtime elite organization here, this 16 to 20-year-old pro league in Atlanta where the Thompson twins are playing? I guess we're going to be having more of this to deal with now. It's one thing with the G League. It's one thing with the NCAA, but now we have this other league here, and it makes me curious about competition level because he's playing with players 16 to 20.
Yeah, and if you watch his highlights or any games that he's played in, it's flashy. Both the Thompson twins have a ton of athleticism, and they're making highlight plays left and right there. But you mentioned it. I mean, what is the competition? Compared to a Brandon Miller playing in the SEC with some of these guys in college now are 22, 23 years old because they've been staying an extra year with eligibility. These are tough defensive teams that you have to face in college basketball, let alone, in the pros with, Victor Wembanyama. But Amen Thompson and Osor Thompson haven't had to totally deal with that. There is a lot of raw talent in that league. So, that has to make you a little worried, concerned. Maybe it means that he does, need maybe a year or two to adjust to the NBA. But the athleticism for both these guys is off the charts. So that's the big thing that you're kind of taking a swing on upside with these guys.
I think that Detroit can use one of the two. I'll take either one.
You mentioned that. So Osor Thompson, his twin brother, is now the betting favorite to be the pick at number 5 to Detroit. He's more of a scorer, from the wing. Amen Thompson's more of a guy that likes to play with the ball in his hands, a taller point guard type, but
quick release on his three. It's got to improve, but he reminds me shades of Sean Marion back in the day. Very quick release three, which is very advantageous. No, but that's what it looks like, man.
I know.
It's a very quick release. I haven't seen one that quick in a long time, and that's going to be key if he can maybe get that percentage up to close to that 35 area.
Yeah, so the Pistons, obviously with Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren as their core, right? Their young core. They probably want.
Let's not forget about James
Wiseman. I forgot he was now in Detroit now, but even with him, so they probably want a wing scorer, right?
Yeah, they didn't replace Sadiq Bey. They need to replace Sadiq Bey. And some of their other forwards are free agents here that maybe you don't want to have to. They got a couple of club options too, but ultimately they can't go into this year with Isaiah Livers there looking as their depth for forward. So I think one of these guys would be good. I think this team, it fits the rebuild mode. And when you're talking about raw talent, especially because we don't know what the transition is going to be like for the Thompson twins going from the overtime elite league to the NBA, I think one of them being on a total rebuild team where they'll respect the process, trust the process. You know what that's about, and have a nice slow build. It gives them more time to develop and less pressure to kick him out of there quickly.
All right. Yeah. So those, you see the odds there. Jarris Walker and Cam Whitmore are kind of the dark horses, been rumored to possibly be there at 5. So those are, if you want to go with a bet there. Walker.
What about Taylor Hendricks there? What are your thoughts on that fit?
I think it's tough because you want to take the upside with Thompson. Hendricks is a guy that just kind of floated under the radar in college. He played on a team that was not competitive on the national scale there or in the AAC at UCF. But he's your classic 3-and-D guy. I just don't think his upside to turn into a legit, star or playmaker is as high as these Thompson guys because the athleticism isn't totally there, but he's he's a guy that can come in and play that wing on a 3-and-D scale right away. Can hit threes and play some solid defense on the perimeter. But I think if you're the Pistons and you're looking to hit a home run, it's probably whoever's left from the Thompson guys, honestly.
Right.
Same thing with like Jarris Walker and Cam Whitmore, comparing them. I don't think they have as high of upside as one of the Thompson guys. So that's why they are pushed to the front, which is interesting. And kind of going right into the 6th pick now with Orlando Magic, or Anthony Black has shot up to be the favorite here, the betting favorite at plus 145 now on FanDuel to be the 6th pick. Very interesting. How would he fit in with the Magic's lineup?
They've got other guards. That's the big thing with them. I mean, they've got Cole Anthony, they got Markelle Fultz, and I know how much the organization loves Markelle Fultz. Once he came in, he was able to stay in, which was huge because the health hasn't been proven otherwise. So to me, as much as you watch tape on Anthony Black and you get blown away. I mean, this guy sees everything. Quick passes, no-look passes, good at feeding cutters, which is huge. Because it's one thing when you're just dumping the ball in the paint with 2 guys around you. It's another thing where you're threading the needle and anticipating where the guy's going to cut. I think this guy sees the court so well. But my big question is, with Cole Anthony still out there along with Fultz, and also you got Franz Wagner as well, who can rotate between the 2 and the 3. It makes me wonder if there's just too many cooks in the kitchen in the backcourt with Orlando. But like you were saying before with Scoot Henderson, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe you see if this guy can perform better even in camp than a Fultz, than an Anthony, who is coming off the bench, by the way, Anthony, and you draft him anyway and see if he develops.
Yeah, and the thing with Anthony Black is that he's 6'7", like a taller point guard, in a wing's body, and I think that has a lot of teams really fascinated with him to be. You saw it with like a LaMelo Ball, bringing it back to him, a taller point guard. It's just like a different vibe for a team. And you mentioned Cole Anthony, Markelle Fultz are more of a smaller guys, Jalen Suggs too, and not, obviously not a 6'7" point guard in any of those guys. So I think that's probably what the Magic are seeing here. Going to the 7th pick, we have, the Indiana Pacers here. Where do you think they go? Because there's been a lot of rumors about, and it might be just end up being whoever is at the top, best available for them, because it's like a Jarris Walker. You could see plus 100 odds on FanDuel, but Taylor Hendricks is definitely an option here for them. If a Cam Whitmore falls all the way down to, plus 650, there's a chance Whitmore slides a little further than initially thought. But any of those guys, what's the best fit, do you think, for the Pacers of what they're dealing with?
The Pacers have a very big power forward problem. And I think
Jarris Walker.
Dude, he plays bigger than he is. He's 6'7". I don't know if he's 6'7". He seems bigger, but he's big, he's wide, he's thick. He's someone that can fight in the paint. You watch any of his past games, and you see him never give up on a play, boxes out nicely. And also somebody who's more of a traditional post player, not necessarily someone that just fades out to the arc, but you see him have a lot of up and under old school post moves from the middle of the paint. And that can work nicely because with Miles Turner there, they can have Turner kind of stretch a little bit more if they need him to go out on the elbow. And this guy can handle the paint. I think that's what they wanted for Jalen Smith, who hasn't really developed as quickly as they thought. I think this guy would definitely be great to clog up the paint for Indiana. And if they're planning on going with a guard with this pick, they might as well trade the pick for a veteran forward. They need help inside big time.
Okay, so yeah, Jarris Walker is definitely the favorite there at plus 100 to go to the Pacers. So, Fency's telling you to take that bet right now if you want to lock that in.
I like the fit. I like the marriage very much.
Sweet. Well, let's move to the 8th pick then. And Anthony Black here for the Wizards is an option. He's if he falls and doesn't get picked by the Magic, he's plus 210 to the Wizards. But besides him, it's pretty wide open because, this is a Wizards team that they've now shipped out Bradley Beal. They've traded away Kristaps Porzingis. They brought in Tyus
Chris
Jones.
Paul they just traded away.
Yeah, so Chris Paul was in Washington. He probably didn't even go to Washington, D.C. at all. He was in New York, I think, doing interviews. But, this team is in total rebuild here. So it's pretty much, what is it? Best available for them? Is it just trying to take a home run swing? Like a Bilal Coulibaly is a home run swing. If they want to go there, he's actually my best bet here, plus 320. I would take a swing on him to be the pick here because I think Anthony Black could be gone. If he's going to the Magic at 6, then they're just trying to take a home run here. I think it's either Coulibaly or Kobe Buffkin, who's also risen up the draft board as just being an option to be 5 years from now. You might be like shocked that they were drafted at the 8th overall pick if they're one of the best players in this draft class.
I heard a rumor just a little bit ago that the Spurs are trying to find a way to trade up for another pick.
I heard that.
Unite the teammates here. Unite Coulibaly and Wembanyama on the same team. How crazy would that be?
I mean, that would talk about like making your number one pick like comfortable and feeling at home. You get one of his friends that he just played with last year.
That just happens to shoot 45% from downtown.
And is like, he's got like a 7'2" wingspan, is like a small forward type. But if you watch some of his highlights and some of his tape, or if you flipped on a game that Wemby was playing in, he flashed when he was dunking plenty. He was, driving to the rim, very athletic.
Doubled at the elbow a lot, I noticed. And at the free throw line, and he would stop with the ball, and you'd have 2 open cutters, and he'd hit Coulibaly a lot. So I noticed that because he picks up his dribble, and that's something he's going to have to learn because he's going to be facing thicker players there. He can't just pick up his dribble. He's got to try to force contact and not after one dribble seeing the 2 defenders just stop. Try to barrel through, draw contact. Don't pick up the dribble so quickly. But that's why Coulibaly was able to get inside when he did, besides the outside shooting, because he was cutting and no one was guarding him.
Yeah. So for the Wizards, real quick, is it just, best available, you think, or do you think that they're looking at a specific position?
If they can't get Anthony Black, which I think they should get now with Jordan Poole there, I still think you go and get Anthony Black, have Tyus Jones be your backup. I then marked Taylor Hendricks for them because they do need some size. They don't have any size. We don't know if Kyle Kuzma is going to be back with them or not. He's a free agent, and they just traded Porzingis. All they have is really Gafford. They have no one inside. So if they're not going to get Anthony Black, which I know they want, they got to go with a big.
And Taylor Hendricks plus 1,100 on FanDuel to be the number 8 pick. So that'd be an interesting bet there. Hendricks is a guy that could go anywhere in the range of like 6 to
and he could still
12.
give them that floor stretching itch that they just lost with Porzingis as well. He's like a 40% shooter from downtown.
Yeah, there you go. So the number 9 pick here, we have the Utah Jazz, and they have a couple picks in this first round, but this is the first one at number 9. Also a possible landing spot for Taylor Hendricks. Probably, are they looking for a wing? Because you're going to have their pick probably of whoever's left between Hendricks, Cam Whitmore, Coulibaly, if he's still there, Kobe Buffkin too.
They need some defensive help. They've got a lot of big men who can shoot, so they need a guy that's going to be rough and rugged, blue-collar style. And I think that's where Cam Whitmore, another guy who I think plays bigger than his listed height from what I've been watching. Yeah. And also, the guy's a good defender as well. Averaged nearly a steal and a half per game last year. So I'm thinking that Jazz go that direction, get themselves a little bit toughness inside because they're going to have a lot of their bigger guys shooting from the outside besides Walker Kessler.
Yeah, by the way, you can bet on like top 10 picks over on FanDuel and other sites. Bilal Coulibaly minus 120 to be a top 10 pick. I love that bet.
Makes me wonder if there's a trade in the works, if there's a team that's moving up to get him. But absolutely outstanding tape. Played with Wembanyama as well. But yeah, again, could it be the Spurs? Could the Spurs get both guys?
The Spurs are a possibility. I've heard like the Thunder is a possibility to move up from 12 that they're at because they have a ton of picks from like now until 2030. So they could be trying to package something if they want to move up and get a guy like, take a home run swing on Coulibaly. But yeah, minus 120 a week ago, by the way, I sent a tweet out, said, this was a good odds to draft, to take Coulibaly. I think he was like plus 430 to be a top 10 pick. But now he's minus 120. It really, he's a guy that
at 12 right now, Servo. Maybe they trade up just a few spots.
That's what I was thinking.
12 pick and then they get him there. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe they trade with the Jazz, or probably not the Jazz. Maybe they trade with Washington somehow.
Yeah, Washington at 8 is definitely an
Anthony
option to
Black
trade
off
out.
the board. Washington trades down a little bit.
Yeah, especially if they're just fine with taking one of these wings that's going to fall to them. By the way, so the Dallas Mavericks at 10 are another possibility to trade out. Koulibaly's an option there, but we have Derek Lively now minus 120 to be the number 10 pick. He's a guy that's risen up draft boards over the last couple weeks, and had a interesting season at Duke. But you're telling me that the Mavs need big men. They need a center, and Derek Lively, outside of Wembanyama, is the best center available at number 10.
Yeah, it gives you that shot blocking ability, averaged about 2.5 per game last year. They just need a big guy. They need defense at this point. They really screwed themselves with that Kyrie trade. They lost anything defensively that they had, which started to be a sinking ship because of that. I think this guy gets them back on the train.
Okay. Yeah, and it's interesting to see those odds move in that direction. And by the way, Derek Lively, minus 145 to be a top 10 pick. So I guess there's a chance that his team wants to trade up at 9 to get him right before the Mavs or something like that, if you want to take that bet instead of just the exact pick at 10. So that's an interesting one there. Let's go through some of these other teams quickly. We already touched on the Magic at 11, the Thunder at 12, the Raptors at 13.
I want Buffkin for the Raptors, by the way.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, go in any direction you want. You want to talk Raptors real quick?
Yeah, because here's the thing. We've been hearing for the last number of months that they're trading players and they don't trade players. They want to gauge OG Anunoby interest, but then they don't want to trade him. So we don't know what the roster to expect, and Fred VanVleet is a free agent as well. They need some scoring. The big question is, Servo, can Buffkin be that successful shoot-first point guard? Can he be that good combo guard? Because I don't want Gary Trent running this offense here. And I think Buffkin can give you that VanVleet-like scoring as well. What do you think of his ball handling? Is it going to be good enough to be a good point guard in the NBA?
He needs to improve there. He's very much like a combo guard that can be a great scorer, but his ball handling just needs a little bit of work. It's just interesting at Michigan. If you ever watch a game by them, the amount of possessions that they played through their center, Hunter Dickinson, it's just it leaves a little bit to be desired of guys like Buffkin or Jet Howard because they didn't have a total freedom to be a true playmaker or true ball handler where they're trying to make possessions out of nothing on their own. So it's just a lot of times where if they needed a bucket, they dumped it to Dickinson down low, which might limit the amount of upside you see on tape, but the athleticism, the scoring is there for Buffkin to definitely emerge.
Does Grady Dick at all fit this mold as well for them?
He's a lights out 3-point shooter. I mean, he can definitely be, emerge as the best 3-point shooter a few years from now from this draft. It's basically him, and I think Jordan Hawkins is the other guy. And he's a guy that I would be interested to see which team lands him because he's a guy that could come in.
I think Jimmy Bowden's Lakers are
it might be the Lakers that move up there. Before we get out of here, I wanted to throw out just a couple of on FanDuel. You got top 20 picks that you could bets that you can make, and I gave this out yesterday. But Olivier Maxence Prosper at plus 110 on FanDuel to be a top 20 pick. He's a guy that could come in and help the Lakers or the Heat at 18, I think. Just be an extra big for them. We saw the Heat struggle when they didn't have as many bigs besides Bam Adebayo, and the Lakers too, outside of Anthony Davis. I think Maxence Prosper is a prime candidate to be a landing spot to either the Heat or the Lakers. So top 20 pick, I like one of those.
Not bad. And if that doesn't come through, I think he'd be a nice fit with the Celtics, getting more size for them. Someone to complement Porzingis nicely. He'd be good with that. Yeah,
and the Celtics now have a couple picks. They could be trying to move up further if they want to get one of these guys. Before we get out of here, and we do have to get out of here, just give me your final thought on the draft. What are you most excited for, or any last-minute bets?
I want to see if there's one more trade, one more with some names in it. We've got a few names swirling around. I want to see if Zion Williamson is traded tonight, which would be comical because I'm telling you, 5 years ago, we were talking about him like he was going to be the next greatest power forward of all time. He's a one of one. He's this, he's that. And now everybody wants to kick him out, it seems like.
Yeah, we'll see. He's a name. And if you listen to Bill Simmons' podcast, as I do, he said that a source in the NBA said that Zion Williamson won't be on the Pelicans after draft night. So
they're not on the same page. And when the Pelicans got CJ McCollum and Zion Williamson didn't even call him and welcome him to the team and stuff like that. Bad sign. He and the organization have been not on the same page for the last probably close to a year, it seems like.
Yeah, so we'll see if Zion Williamson is on the move tonight or any other trades. I'm definitely excited. I know me and Fensley will be following along with you guys on Twitter and just texting each other some reactions. But coming up next is the MLB Quick Pitch DFS live show. It's myself and Adam Ronis talking some MLB DFS lineups for you guys tonight. Definitely tune into that at 5 o'clock Eastern, coming up in 5 minutes here. Appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. Enjoy the draft. Enjoy all your bets cashing with me and Fensty. Appreciate it, everyone. Good luck.
Bettor Sports Betting on the Bettor Sports Network.